Welcome to the Healthy Me, Healthy You, Healthy Us conference. My name is Michael Frecking. I am a patient at Adult Down Syndrome Center. I also participate in groups at the center. Thank you for coming today. We are grateful that you could be here learning about health and wellness. Now Laura is going to share some information about the agenda today.
Thank you, Michael. Hi, my name is Laura Chacoin. I'm the project manager for research and education at the Adult Down Syndrome Center. As Michael said, thank you so much for being here. We're really looking forward to this day and are glad that you could all be here. Before I get to some housekeeping details, there are several people that I wanted to thank, so bear with me. It's a lengthy list, but that's a good thing. The team here at the Hyatt Lodge Training Center, the exhibitors who came today, our wonderful volunteers, including our photographers who are donating their time, the Advocate Charitable Foundation, especially Haley Anderson and Allie Renier, who have helped to plan this event, the staff of the Adult Down Syndrome Center, many of them you're going to hear from today, and all of our other presenters who are donating their time as well. And then lastly, I'd like to thank the Adult Down Syndrome Center Council of Advisors Subcommittee, who were a huge part in planning this conference as well. So please give all those individuals a round of applause. So on to today's schedule. After Dr. Chacoin's presentation, there will be 2 consecutive breakout sessions. There will be 3 presentations to choose from. And the schedule is in your purple folders on the right side, and you can pick from the sessions that are on your sheet. There will be room monitors in each session, and if you signed up to receive continuing education credit, please see the room monitors after the session to pick up your certificates. They are right over here to my right, your left. There will be a 15-minute break between each session. The restrooms, if you haven't found them, are down the hall, kind of by the past the stairs. And we have lots of volunteers here who can point you in the right direction. They have those Ask Me purple stickers on. Lunch will be at 12:30 p.m. at the tables outside in the foyer. It's a boxed lunch. Please take 1 boxed lunch per person. Again, our volunteers can point you in the right direction if you have any questions. And then after lunch, attendees who have Down syndrome, you guys are going to go to Mix and Mingle, which is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have some dancing and games. And our volunteers will point you in the right direction. You might have noticed you have either a blue or a green dot on your name tag. So when the Mix and Mingle starts, look for that dot, and that will tell you where you're going to start. And then the other attendees, you will return here for Dr. Chacoin's second presentation. And then lastly, in your folders, you have a conference evaluation. We would appreciate it if you would fill that out, and you can drop it off in one of the boxes that will be outside in the foyer at the end of the day, or you can also give it to any of the volunteers. Thank you again for being here. I'm going to turn it back over to Michael, who is going to introduce our first speaker.
All right, guys. Thank you, Laura. Our first speaker is Dr. Brian Chacoin. He is the medical medical director of the Down Syndrome Center. He is going to talk about health and wellness resources. Please welcome the only one, Dr. Chacoin.
Thank you, Michael. So what a pleasure to be here today. I really appreciate you coming to our third conference, Advocate Medical Group Adult Down Syndrome Center Conference. We're going to talk a little bit about the past as we get started, but it's pretty amazing to think about 27 years ago that we would have ended up here today. That it really was not part of the dream at that time, so it's really great to be here. Thank you to Michael for starting us off, and thank you for all of you for coming today and participating. And our presenters, I think you're really going to enjoy what they have to say. And certainly the conference committee and all the many others that Laura mentioned, and we appreciate all those contributions. So part of what we're going to reflect on today, a little bit on this presentation, is how care of adults with Down syndrome has evolved since the center opened in 1992. How much further we have come, certainly since this is my great uncle Leo, who was born in Central Illinois. I was in that farmhouse when I was a kid. It's now gone. But Leo was, they didn't call it Down syndrome at the time, but Leo had Down syndrome, and he was born in 1907. Interesting, although Leo lived to be about 40, his life expectancy when he was born, first I forgot to ask, can you hear me okay? Okay, good. Good. When Leo was born, his life expectancy was only 9, although he did live to be 40, which was unusual in those days. Presumably, Leo did not have congenital heart disease, which really was certainly would have been the big issue in the early 1900s, even up into the mid-1970s. So Leo's life expectancy was only 9. When I graduated from medical school in 1984, the life expectancy of people with Down syndrome was only 28, and now it's 60. So I say that there aren't too many healthcare providers that have the opportunity during the course of their career to have the patients they serve double their life expectancy. It's been a pretty unique, I don't take credit for it, but it's been a very unique, interesting time, and we've learned a lot, and hopefully we can share some of that today. So the journey has taken us, started with Dr. McGuire, who's here today, and Sheila Hebine, and myself started the clinic in 1992. For those of you that remember the beginning, that's the Nesset Center, which is on the campus of Lutheran General. Then we moved to Niles on Milwaukee Avenue. And then we moved to what I fondly called the Little House in the Prairie, which was our house, our office from 1999 until about 7 years ago. And then now we live, not live. Sometimes I feel like we do. Now we have the center here again on the campus of Lutheran General. So that's the physical journey, but there's been a lot more to the journey than just moving from place to place, and hopefully we're done moving. But let me tell you, go back. I'm a storyteller, so let me start with a story. So when the clinic, shortly after the clinic opened, a mom called me and said, my son has had a cough for 3 weeks, and I've been to the doctor 2 or 3 times, and the doctor keeps telling me it's just Down syndrome. And I said, well, that's interesting. Let me look. Now, of course, we didn't have the internet in 1992. So I looked in a textbook, but I could have looked. Now I could look at the NIH site, and you will not find cough as a symptom of Down syndrome. So I said, why don't you come on in? And heaven forbid, I actually listened to his heart and lungs with a stethoscope, and then ordered a chest X-ray. That's not his chest X-ray, but that was probably equivalent to what he had. He had pneumonia, and we treated him with antibiotics, and his cough went away. Now he still had Down syndrome. So clearly that was not a symptom of Down syndrome, but that's somewhat of a silly but poignant story that, clearly even in the medical community there was a lot of misinformation and a lot of unknown about what having Down syndrome was about, and what was sort of part of having Down syndrome, what was part of symptoms that if I have a pneumonia, hopefully you treat me with antibiotics as well, instead of just saying that I have whatever. And so that was, again, a very poignant story very early on in the process. And then the second story, which is equally as, although in somewhat more poignant, is the story of self-talk. So we had read that psychosis was actually not very common in people with Down syndrome, and so that was in the literature. And we were seeing lots of people coming to the clinic on antipsychotic medications. Well, what's this about? I thought it wasn't common. And as we pieced it together, really the complaint was that they were talking to themselves, and then they were being put on antipsychotic medications because it was thought that they were hallucinating. And so we really looked into this, and at the time our children were young, and they talked to themselves, and lo and behold, the doctor talks to himself. So we really felt that this probably was not clearly an abnormality. In fact, at the time, we felt really this was a developmental stage appropriate behavior, meaning like people of equal sort of cognitive ability, younger children, many of them talk to themselves, but really has now come out in the literature that certainly athletes talk to themselves. I always say that about mile 23 of the marathon, I would definitely be talking to myself, usually saying, whose idea was this, and this is the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life. But certainly athletes, although I don't consider myself an athlete, but certainly athletes, real athletes talk to themselves. And then certainly it's now found that many, many people, we talk to ourselves. In fact, we were coming up the Dan Ryan Expressway the other day, and I counted the 16 lanes wide, and I thought, I bet most people here are either talking to themselves or talking to the person next to them, because it's a little crazy. But so the real interesting, the story behind that is that really these individuals we were seeing did not need to be on antipsychotic medications. And in those days, even today, there's implications of those medications, but those that in 27 years ago, those medications had lots and lots of side effects. And so really these folks did not belong on antipsychotic medications. Self-talk really was a positive thing. It was a way for all of us to kind of think through the day, and some people do it out loud, some people do it silently. No more would I allow you to come to tell me not to go to the end of the day, come to the end of the day and not think through my day, that I would ask our patients not to talk through their day if that's the way to do that. Now certainly there are social issues with that, which we won't address here, but Dr. McGuire may talk about that some in his presentation later today. But again, really not a psychotic issue, something we really need to look at very differently. So those are some of the early on things that we learned, that there was maybe a different way that we need to be looking at things, and also how do we get this information out to other people. So education is the most powerful weapon you can choose to change the world, of course, according to Nelson Mandela. And I think certainly this is true in the medical world as it is in the rest of the world. So when we started the clinic, there was very little in the literature, medical literature, about caring for adults with Down syndrome, and much of it was wrong, frankly. And so we really were left to sort of kind of start from scratch and figure it out. So philosophically, the journey continues to take us not only moving from place to place, but on a path of improving the resources that are available to not only the families we serve, but others as well. But the journey still starts every time with providing good health care. It's where we learn what we do. Again, particularly starting out at the beginning when there was so little in the literature, the only thing we had was what we provided, listening to patients, listening to families, listening to providers, the staff and whatnot, and learning from what their experiences were, and then trying to correlate that into to make some sense of it. Now, fortunately, we've now seen over 6,000 individuals with Down syndrome. Each year we have about 7,500 patient encounters. So we have lots of resource of individuals that we've met and talked to. Although I do like to say that there's a saying that if you've met one person with Down syndrome, you've met one person with Down syndrome, meaning you can't make too broad of strokes. So I say we've met 6,000 people with Down syndrome, but we still only met 6,000 people with Down syndrome. So there's still, every person is unique. So I don't want to minimize that. But I think the important thing is that we have been able to take a lot of information over the course of time and try to make some sense of it. So we provide the medical care, the psychosocial care, occupational therapy. Katie's going to be speaking today as well. And then our advocates, they're also speaking to try to take what we've learned and to share that. Really, it became clear that we want to go beyond, although we're primary care physicians by training, we want to go beyond that. We want to go beyond the four walls of the office, and how can we share what we've learned in addition, not instead of, but in addition to each patient encounter, how can we share this information in other ways? But again, it always comes back to the patient care. So what have we learned? Well, the first thing we have to decide that we have to agree on the definition of health. So what is health, and how, if we're going to be promoting it, what in fact are we promoting? I really like the World Health Organization definition. It's a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. And so really it looks beyond just treating the pneumonia, but how do we help people healthy, and what are the physical aspects, the mental health aspects, and the social aspects. Years ago, Janet had suggested to a situation that involved perhaps changing somebody's work setting, and the sister was really questioning why, kind of angry at Janet, why are you talking about the work setting? Because the work setting was really impacting on the person's health. And Janet said, well, now, did I do something wrong? I said, no, that's exactly what we're part of, really part of our job is to look at the whole person and his life and how is it impacting on their health and how is their health impacting on the rest of their life. And so really, they are really very entwined together across all aspects. But can we do that in the confines, again, can we do that in the confines of the office? So if you come to me for an hour appointment a year, that ends up being 0.01%. I'm a numbers guy, so forgive me. So that's a 0.01% of your year is spent in the office, if that's the only time we see is the 1 hour physical. We're pretty challenged to make huge changes in your life if that's the only opportunity we're getting to interact with you. So what can we do to try to get additional information, reach out and try to touch people at other times of the year as well as in other ways? And the other question is, how do we also address the needs of individuals with Down syndrome? How do we specifically help them promote their own health? And we're going to talk about that in a second here. So we want to go beyond the doctor's office. So one of the first things we've done really look at is groups. So Dr. Frank, who will, again, is speaking later today, Ann and Grace, our advocates, and Laura are running Zumba classes, social skills groups, our Alzheimer's support group, a grief group, music, art, and nature clubs, a variety of opportunities to really look at to help people promote their health in a variety of ways. It's not only what those individuals that are served individually, but what is it that we're learning from that, and what can we then bring back into the office setting to share with others, and then what is the message? It's very important to us to get the message out that it's more than just, health is more than just the hour that you spend with us once a year, whatever the case may be. Certainly, and there are flyers in the exhibitor area on more about some of those activities. There's also our fitness run, so now I get to be a shameless promoter here. There's our fitness fun for everyone. It's the first Saturday in June. It's a 5K run and 3K walk. Certainly encourage you to consider participating. This year it's actually going to be at Maine East High School, which is right next to the clinic. Last year we had a lightning out, not a rain out, but a lightning out. And this year we have the option of going inside if we need to. They have a indoor track if we need to. Hopefully that's not the case. But also just a lot more facilities. We're going to be off the streets, which is nice. We're not going to be having to run or walk on the streets. So another opportunity. And again, certainly physical fitness is a huge part of health and a huge part of something we want to be promoting. And then we also have educational events such as the one in the middle, I guess. We had last year or so, we had a kind of kickoff for a Healthy New Year and a variety of booths at the clinic promoting different drinking water and eating healthy foods and regular exercise, encouraging people to participate in good health activities. We're one site. Sometimes families say, it's too far, it's too, wrong times, things like that. We get it. We limit to what we can provide. So certainly there are a lot of other organizations doing wonderful, good things as well. And so if it's not us, there's NADS, and there's Ups for Downs, and there's Gigi's, and there's the special rec. There's a special rec table out there. I encourage you to take a look at that. So a lot of good things going on, a lot of good opportunities. I think the message we really want to share is the importance of doing these things, not where or when or how, just making sure that it works for you. So again, going back to this really all starts with patient care. So when we started the clinic, I would go to the annual, typically the National Down Syndrome Congress meeting and the Down Syndrome Medical Interest Group meetings every year. And there was discussion, this is great. Soon we'll have a clinic in every state of the union, and this will be great. And these services will be available to everybody. Well, now 27 years later, there's about, again, I'm a numbers person, there's about a half a dozen clinics in the United States. Someone actually asked me one time, we're in Park Ridge, and the next town over to the west is Des Plaines. And she asked me, that's kind of far for us to come. Do you think we could have a clinic west of us? And I said, sure, there's a clinic west of us, but it's in Denver. So, that kind of puts in perspective the lack of the resources for individuals with Down syndrome. So the clinic in every state concept, certainly, I think at this rate, so 6 in 27 years, I'm going to be pretty long gone before there's one in every state. I mean, we're looking at about 3 centuries from now if this present rate keeps up. So what can we do to not only serve the individuals we serve, but what we learn and share with our patients, how might it benefit others as well? So our early focus really was on families and care providers, and Dr. McGuire and I wrote 2 books, and so that information's been shared quite a bit. It's humbling, but it's the mental wellness book has been translated into about 7 languages, and so really around the world there is this need, and this information we really want to try to share. But giving information to families and care providers did not solve all the problem. So really, how do we get people with Down syndrome to participate in their own health as well? And so again, the National Institute of Health literacy effort really indicates that if you're able to participate in your own health care, you're going to be healthier. So that we start on the premise that our patients, people with Down syndrome, can and should participate in their own health care. So the question no longer becomes an if, it becomes a how. And so that's really, we've decided is really one of our missions. So we know that folks with Down syndrome tend to learn better with visuals, and particularly strong with videos. I have lots of patients who come in and can practically recite an entire movie from start to finish. Dr. McGuire years ago wrote a piece called "If People with Down Syndrome Ruled the World," and it was that there would not be lots of movies. There would be ones that we tended to watch over and over, and in the movie theater, it would be okay to recite the lines before the actors and actresses. Now, that's the humorous side of this. But what is the upside to that? And the upside is folks with Down syndrome really do tend to learn videos. And so how can we then turn that into a positive? So we've started to develop a series of videos on supporting healthcare. There's a concept called, I guess I didn't put a picture of the book. There's a concept called self-modeling. And what self-modeling is that you actually take a video of the individual themselves doing the desired behavior, and then you show them that video, and presumably over and over, and then that actually improves their ability to do the desired behavior. And so that's self-modeling, and it started in the autism world, and we have no qualms about stealing from the autism world, and we know that it works. We're pretty confident that it works in folks with Down syndrome as well. The second best, if you will, is peer modeling. So we tend to, I always say when you I'm one of 7 kids, so when you take a family photo, there's lots of people. And when you go look at the family photo, who do you typically look at first? You look at yourself. I mean, that's, oh, I don't look so good in that one or whatever. And then the next step is we look at the people that look like us. I always say, if you look at a flock of geese, to me they all look alike. I'm sure that the geese, they all look different. So we tend to see, we tend to look towards things that they're similar. And so that's true. We think it's true for people with Down syndrome as well, that the videos with actors and actresses having Down syndrome are going to be better than other videos. And so we developed a series of videos, and this afternoon we're going to talk about research, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some projects we're doing on that to try to see if in fact that's true, but we're pretty confident that it is. And then visual supports is another thing, with the picture schedules or whatever, picture to support people in doing healthy behavior. Now, a lot of times families will say, oh, picture supports, that's something for when my son or daughter was a child. This is my visual support all day long. I know that my calendar here syncs exactly to my calendar on my desk at work. But if I forget this at home, I am totally discombobulated the whole day long. I am really out of sorts. I need visual supports. We all need visual supports. I don't think folks with Down syndrome should be shortchanged on visual supports. They may look a little different, but I think as technology goes forward, I think more and more of our patients are using phones or whatever, tablets or whatever as a support, a visual support. And really, I think we're really finding that it's really very beneficial. The other thing we're looking at developing are what we're calling teaching aids. So you would have the video, you would have a supporting visual aid that would go with the video, and then we would have sort of we're calling teaching aids, sort of ultimately sort of a curriculum across the board of all these different videos and these visual handouts, so that people could use these in the home setting or in a group setting. And the group setting is kind of an interesting thing. This is Christine Maxwell in the lower right there. Christine and I went to Gigi's Playhouse several months ago, and Christine is holding a visual handout she actually created. So we have a video on drinking more fluids, drinking more water. I'm convinced most of our patients go through life at least mildly dehydrated. I think probably most of us go through life at least mildly dehydrated. But so Christine, we have a video on drinking more fluids. Christine developed this handout, this visual aid, and what she does is that when she drinks a glass of water, she puts the glass on the first cup on the handout. When she drinks the second one, she moves it along the line. So a very visual reinforcement to drink more fluids. And so we went to Gigi's Playhouse and showed the video, passed out the handout, and then encouraged people to practice that. Now, they didn't all drink 5 glasses of water in 10 minutes. That would have been problematic. I think they only have one bathroom. That really would have been a problem. But I think it's an interesting way. And so I think certainly in small group settings, whether it be residential facilities or you can have a gathering of friends over and whatnot, I think that there's really opportunity here to use these going forward to help promote healthy habits of a variety of methods, or variety of types. I think we have enough time to show this, just a minute or two. So this is one of the videos that was made, actually there's folks from Avenues here. This was made at Avenues for Independence. And let me see if I can get this to work here.
Now, listen up real hard, and you've got to exercise so you can calm down on that. Do any type of exercise like yoga, Zumba, dancing, or do whatever is exercise. You've got to. Sometimes I talk to my friends or family when I do get stressed. When I am working, can't do any of those things. You got to tell yourself to calm down and it will pass. When you do get stressed, please take deep breaths. And sometimes it's hard to remember when you feel uptight. But you can also practice when you don't feel pressured, and that'll help to remember things. That's what you can do when you feel pressured.
So all in all, it's about a 5-minute video. Most of them are 3 to 5 minutes. I think they're sorry, there's a little trick to this. I had to learn this morning, and I'm not learning it very well, apparently. It's supposed to move over here. I can't see that on here. That's the problem. Oh, no. Huh. Well, when in doubt. All right. Okay. So, a series of videos, and they're on our Facebook page and our web page. And again, I think there's something I'm talking a lot about in the office, encouraging people to take a look at a variety of topics. It's healthy eating, it's drinking more fluids, it's how to use your CPAP machine, a number of things that we've been able to put together. And all the actors and actresses have Down syndrome. And so I think it's really been a fun project, but it's also, I think, has some real educational opportunity there too as we go forward. All right, there we go. So as we began to think about this and looking at designing our web page, it really became clear that there really are 3 audiences. One is people with Down syndrome. One are families. The second is families and caregivers, and then the third will be healthcare professionals as we go forward. And so right now this is our resource page on our website. I encourage you to take a look at that. But again, there's sort of 3 columns is what I call it, with the 3 audiences. There really is, there are some unique health issues for people with Down syndrome, but there really is still not a great amount of good, healthy, good resources. I teach in the family medicine residency program at Lutheran, and I say to the residents, I think part of the job of a healthcare provider in the 21st century is really to encourage people to look at good information, because there's about 95 to somewhere between 95 and 99% of the stuff on the internet that is really not so worthwhile. So trying to help people find stuff that is meaningful and helpful is part of our job. And unfortunately, there is no WebMD for Down syndrome. And so we're trying to create something that really just try to help people find information easily. Also, I encourage you to take a look at our Facebook page. We have over 5,000 people following us from around the world, and Australia, Europe, all over, really a wide variety of audience, and encourage you to take a look at that and really pretty much one post a day, and try to share a lot of information. Some of it's local, what's going on, at our place, someplace down the street, and some of it's, informational, what about heart disease in people with Down syndrome, or, whatever the case may be. So I encourage you to take a look at that. And then, really excited. We kind of hoped we were going to be able to debut it here today, but it's not quite ready. We're going to have a new resource section on our webpage sometime in the very near future. With the financial assistance of a grateful family, we've been working with AmericanEagle.com for the last several months to develop a new resource section on our webpage. Real nice computer and mobile component, views on it, as well as a real nice search engine that will really help us help people find the information. So this is the same issue where I got I don't think this is going to work, unfortunately. I don't know if how well you can see those, but again, there'll be the 3 different groups that we'll be looking at, but there's going to be a real nice search. The search engine's real nice, so that, for example, a healthcare provider could go into the healthcare provider section and put what they're looking for, exercise, and then they could then look at what's available in exercise. It'll just link also up to the other 2 sections. And so what's available for the families and caretakers around the topic of exercise, and what's available for people with Down syndrome around the topic of exercise, so that they could share that information. And a family could do that as well, and certainly someone with Down syndrome as well can look and see very easily what's available across the 3 different sites. There's just going to be, that's just informational, but there's a glitch in what I can and cannot show you here, so it makes it a little hard. So I'm not going to struggle with that. There's again going to be a real nice resource page in the first column, if you will, the column for people with Down syndrome. It's laid out such that there is a picture of each thing that covers the topic, and then each one has a little icon next to it. So if it's a video, there's one icon. If it's a handout, it's a different icon, and a variety of things that I think is going to be real helpful for individuals with Down syndrome to take a look at. And again, trying to make it as user-friendly for all groups, so that it really is something that just about anybody could get access to the information that they were seeking. And again, for the healthcare providers, I think this is going to be a real nice thing. So in this one, we've did a search for exercise, and there's a number of topics, things that we've provided for the people with for healthcare providers. And in-house, we call this the hub. And what we mean by that is that we will create whatever materials we need, but we're also looking for other materials that are already out there. So if someone's already done something, whether it's any of the 3 columns, any of the 3 audiences, if it's already out there, we don't need to recreate that. We'll just make an appropriate link to whatever else is within there. So we're constantly looking for things that other people have done so that we can be adding those on there. And if you have other ideas, certainly share those with us, because if you find something that's helpful, that we don't know about, and you'd like to have other people be aware of it, feel free to share that with us, because we'll be adding on to those pretty quickly as we go forward. And hopefully that's going to be out in the next couple months as we go here. And I like to say that there really is not enough. It's no surprise to you. There's not enough funds already in not only caring for people with Down syndrome from a medical standpoint, providing resources. So we're not looking to replicate anything. We're not looking to duplicate anything, I should say. We're not looking to duplicate. We will replicate if appropriate, but more likely we will just share a link to something that someone else is doing if someone else is doing it. There is no need for us to spend time and money doing something that somebody down the street or around the world is already doing a great job of. And we'll just make sure that you're aware of that information. And then we also have current projects on here, and this will be a segue to this afternoon's presentation on research, and we have a number of interesting projects going on that looking forward to talking to you about. And let me see if I can pull this off. I'm not sure I can with the way this is working. But so from our present website, let's see here. You can't see what I'm seeing at the moment, but I apologize. So I've pulled up the resources for professionals, and I've typed in mental health. So let me see if I can now slide this over so you can see it. Hey, there you go. So, and then a number of things come up, and there will be a lot more once we get this rolling, because the other advantage of this is that Laura will actually be able to load this up herself rather than having to go through the present process, we'll just say, which will be a lot faster. So we can pretty much instantaneously put stuff up online going forward once this is up. But if you look, again, let me see if I can drag this over. Or you may just have to trust me. I don't know if that's... So you can do the same thing then, and it'll be easier once with the new one, but I gotta tell you, trust me on this one, all right? But you can click in mental health and then see what's available for families, and then also mental health, and see what's available for individuals with Down syndrome. For example, the video that we just showed on that Cindy was doing on dealing with stress. So, oops, I did that backwards. Oh no! There we go. Technology. So, we'll be really a nice way so people can really kind of look and see what's available, not only for professionals. So people that live a distance that are not able to come to us, they can be able to share it with their provider, and then certainly what they can do in their own home as well to learn more as we go forward. So, what can you do? Certainly fill out your conference evaluation today, and if you have ideas, topics that are interest of you. As I tell people, honestly, we get requests from all over the world, people asking information, and I tell people I cannot give specific information online to a non-patient, and I wouldn't give specific information about a patient either. That would be a HIPAA violation, confidentiality violation. But we will take what questions people send us and turn them into a sort of a general knowledge piece. And so if you have ideas, topics that you'd like that you'd like to see put up there, please let us know. If you have good resources that you'd like to share with us, the link or whatever, and would like us to think that others would find of interest, we'd certainly be happy to look at that as well. Follow us on Facebook. Sign up for our newsletter. You can go to our webpage, and there's a way you can sign up for the newsletter. It comes out once or twice a month. There's a lot of good information about, and going forward, I think it's going to be nice because there will be information. Here's the new stuff that we have on our webpage that's now available, and you're going to want to be able to take a look at that. Share our resources with others. Let other people know. If you work with other people that are serving people with Down syndrome, if you're a person with Down syndrome, if you're a family, share it with others that you think might benefit from that. And certainly philanthropy. You may have met Allie and Haley, or you will at some course along today. All this is being done through philanthropy. It's all this is we're going to make free of charge. Basically, is the goal here. Questions? Had to go a little faster because we got a little later start, but I think we got the gist of the information out. Questions, comments?
You had talked about different locations that you have. I don't know if it was rumor. I had heard that you were thinking of possibly opening up something in the southern area.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that rumor came from. That is a rumor at the moment. There's not present plans to expand. I wish we could. Advocate and Aurora's in Wisconsin, have recently merged, and there's been some discussion about how to serve the folks in Wisconsin too, but again, those are just, at this point, those are rumors. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Emily Bryan. I have been to the clinic before and at the office of the adult Down syndrome place myself. And I've been there at the doctor's office to where you guys were working. You guys were doing a good job. And also, I have learned a lot about stress myself, which is 1, to control yourself, 2, relax, and 3, you also can have a support team, like my parents and also your therapist. So that's what stress is. Thank you.
That's great advice. And I got a card. Thank you. So I'm going to dovetail off of that because that was a great comment. So I'm talking to the two microphones. It's not that important. It's known that people with Down syndrome have much less high blood pressure. We have probably out of 6,000 patients, probably have about 5 that have high blood pressure. If it was comparable to the rest of the population, it should be 1,800, 2,000. I mean, it should be a lot more than what we have. And inevitably somebody will say, well, that's because people with Down syndrome have no stress in their life. I don't have to tell this group that that's not the case. But I think it's a good point that, making resources available in whatever way, and that's one of the reasons we did that video, making resources available in whatever way that are meaningful to individuals with Down syndrome, whether that's a counselor or your family or whatever, is very, very important.
What you said about that YouTube thing, the girl that you showed us, there's a picture of my boyfriend Jason.
Unbeknownst to me, I put her boyfriend Jason's picture on the... Laura, do you want to... Well, glad I could be of service.
When I was been very long time and and I usually I am a gluten-free diet. When I learn about my stress, and I learn thinking about Rome a lot, and I was relaxing on that, and was my therapist was I am doing good at it. And then things like positive things for thinking about yourself and on that. And then I learned about myself. My family was healthy, and my mom, and my sister-in-law, and my niece are healthy, and so I am very good and more independently, and I'm doing good at it. And when my mom was very good at healthy eating on that, and then I learned about Dr. Coyne had a picture of me when I was moved in, and then I used it been my whole life, 19 years.
Excellent. Thank you. And that's a great segue to the next step here. So we're going to take a 15-minute break, and then the breakout sessions will start. As Laura mentioned, there's 2 sessions, and then there's 2 times, and then there's 3 different sessions in each of the times. None of them are repeated. We will be I think we're videoing. So this will be, as we go forward, if you say, geez, there's 2 I'd really like to see, I got to pick. Ultimately, in the next couple months, all of them will be up online. And so watch for that. And so a couple things Megan pointed out there. She had some great ideas. And so there's 2 things about this conference. One, everything is about health. And the second thing is the conferences are each co-presented by what we call a topic expert, and then what I call the real experts, the folks with Down syndrome. So there'll be, each presentation will be co-presented, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the day, and we look forward to talking to you some more. So thank you for coming.